This is a Shank Portion ham. What I'm going to do is I'm going to score the skin with a very sharp knife, kind of a checkerboard or diamond pattern, but pretty much the same way, same thing. And I'm just going to cut through the layer of skin in the outer area here so we can try to remove the skin and any excess fat so we can cook it properly. So all you need to do is use a very sharp knife. Where the skin is thicker, like up here, you may want to press a little bit deeper. Otherwise, you're just barely going through, like this area here, just barely cutting through the surface. And when you get to where it's mostly meat, just barely cut through. Let's make a series of cuts, 1.5 inches or so, 1.75 inches in size, something to that effect. And just keep going down the outside, and then when you get done you can do a cross cut, same way. Don't press too deeply where it's mostly meat, and press deeper where it's got a thicker part of the skin showing, like up here towards the top. Make sure you don't cut yourself. I'm going to go ahead and finish cutting the outer area of the shank ham here, and then we'll put it into a preheated oven at 300 degrees, and we'll go for a target temperature of about 120, give or take a couple degrees is fine, and that'll be the first step. Then after that we'll take it out and put a glaze on it, but well, you'll get to that here in just a few seconds. I'm going to go ahead and finish this up, and we'll put it in the pan and put it in the oven. Let's just see how it goes. Okay. I finished using my very sharp small knife, cutting just slightly through the surface of the outer layer of the shank ham here. And now I'm going to transfer it to a pan. I've just got an aluminum pan, that's a disposable aluminum pan, sitting inside of a heavy-duty aluminum pan. That's just for stability and safety, so that I don't twist it or drop it by accident. Makes for easier cleanup this way too. Just we're going to put it inside there. I'm going to get the temperature probe, insert the temperature probe into the meatiest portion of the ham. The shank bone, it travels at an angle like this through the meat here. So I'm going to go from the back side where the most meat is and insert it till the tip is pretty close to where I think the center of the meat is. And now I'm going to wrap with aluminum foil to keep it hot and moist while it's in the oven cooking, and that'll help to loosen the outside layers a little bit better too. So that works pretty good. Just wrap it up so it's reasonably secure to keep the moisture in. Now, into the oven she goes. Right back in a few seconds. Yeah, there we go, just right out of the oven. Take the, carefully take the foil off. Let's see what we got here. And it's looking just about right. Take this temperature probe out. Yeah, all I want to do now is take all these chunks of skin and fat off. You may need to trim them a little bit to get them off. And just work your way around, taking off as much of the fat as you can. You want to get all the fat off, at least as much as possible, so we're down to the bare meat. So when we put the glaze on it, it'll adhere to it. If you try to put the glaze on the fat, it'll just run right off and we put it back in the oven. So I'm going to keep working on this, pulling this extra bits of skin and fat off of it, and when I'm done I'll come back to the camera and we'll go on to the next step from there. So I'll see you back here again in just a few seconds. I've got most all of the outer layer of skin removed from the outside, and most of the fat. There's a little bit left over I didn't get to, but I got the vast majority of it. Now I'm going to brush on a glaze and put it back in the oven. I raised the temperature of the oven up from 300 to about 360, 365, right around there. You can go to 375, that's fine if you want to. Just want a really hot temperature to get that glaze to kind of bake on there and adhere to it and get real thick and cling to it real nicely. What you can do sometimes also is make a few slashes on the meat. Don't do it like this. Do it with the knife with the edge pointed straight down. Just make some shallow little cuts just at various places up towards the top as well. Keep the blade pointing straight down. And what this will help do, it'll give a few places for the glaze to kind of settle in there, and it won't run off quite so much. It's a pretty thick glaze I'm going to use, so it'll adhere pretty well. Even on sides here like this, make sure you keep the blade pointed straight down, and just make some shallow little cuts. Don't have to go very deep. Just 1/4 of an inch deep at the most is fine. And that'll help, like I said, give it a few places for the glaze to grab onto and hold on just a little bit better. That should work. I'm going to use a pre-made glaze. Normally I would advocate that you would make your own from scratch on most things. There's a few exceptions where I think you're just as well off to go ahead and buy a pre-made glaze that comes in a bottle. Just something like this. This is a ginger orange flavored glaze. It's really thick, tastes pretty good, but it's probably not the healthiest thing for you to eat. But you're not going to be eating large quantities of it. You just get a small portion on the meat. So without the extra sugar and stuff in there, and you're only gonna have this dish probably 2-3 times a year, maybe 4, maybe like Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, different anniversaries, whatever, different things. So it's okay to go ahead and indulge once in a while and go overboard just a little bit, as long as it's not a regular occurrence. So I'm just gonna brush this all over, put it on really thick. Some will run off, so put it on all over the meat. Get a good coating everywhere. Again, you can make your own if you prefer. It's just a lot of extra work to try to get the flavor profile just right and to get it thick enough so it really adheres to the meat properly. But if you want to do it, it's not a thing at all wrong with doing it. Just about through putting this glaze on there. Then we'll go on to the second step of it. Oh, by the way, there was about 1/4 of an inch or so of grease in the bottom of this pan here that had cooked off of the ham. So I went ahead and poured that off, got rid of that. Don't need that, don't want that. The second part of the glaze is also optional, and you can also do it however you like. I'm going to use one of my favorite. This goes really well with pork. This is by Simply Marvelous. It's a sweet and spicy rub. It's just really good. It's really marvelous. If you don't have this, you could use some brown sugar. You could just use some pepper. You could use some hot peppers. Use whatever you think you have that you might like. And I'm just going to sprinkle it rather generously. Tilt it a little bit. Get it everywhere. Get a good heavy coating. look at that. See how it looks now? Got the orange ginger glaze on there, and the Simply Marvelous sweet and spicy rub. And looks like I missed a little spot right there. There we go. Now put the temperature probe back in. Try not to put it in the exact same spot, just kind of close to where it was before. Don't cover it over with foil this time. You want to leave it open. Put it back in the oven till it gets to 140 degrees, give or take 1 or 2 degrees. And we'll bring it out, let it cool down a little bit, and I'll be ready to slice it. So stay tuned and don't touch those buttons on your computer. Be right back in a few seconds to finish this thing off. Well, there she is. It's just hit 140. Didn't take very long, really. I think just for fun, I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle in a little extra of this Simply Marvelous seasoning. So we need to let this cool down for 20, 30 minutes perhaps before we cut into it. Let it relax and cool down a little bit. There. It's smelling really wonderful already. Yeah, I'll give this a little time to cool down and relax, and then we'll cut it up and see if we can figure out how to eat this thing without making too big of a mess. But if we do, hey, that's alright. That's what washing machines are for. See you back here in just a few seconds. Let it rest for just about 30 minutes. It's still warm, but I think it's manageable, okay to be able to hold it. So we'll see if we can slice it. It's going to be awkward to try and slice them, but I'll see if I can do a halfway respectable job. I'm going to cut a chunk off the bottom. I think I just usually prefer to go ahead and make some slices like this. No matter how you slice it, you're going to run into the bone sooner or later. And there it is. So I'm just going to switch to the side. Slice it whatever way you feel is best. You can do them thin for sandwiches. You can do them thicker for if you want a larger chunk on a plate for whatever meal you're having. Just whatever you think is going to work out best for you. It's a ham. It's a shank portion of the ham. I used a ginger orange glaze along with the Simply Marvelous seasoning that was just sweet and spicy, and it just smells fantastic. And I'm going to let you know how it tastes fantastic. Don't forget, when you put the glaze on there, put it on really heavily, because you're only going to be getting it on a small portion of the meat. So you don't need to be afraid to put it on pretty heavily. It just really adds a neat little flavor to it. Anyways, thanks for taking a look, and we'll see you next time on Cook and Gobble videos.